So EA had like an earnings call kind of thing, and as part of that, they lowered their revenue forecast for the current fiscal year. And they said that was due to the disappointing performance of FC 25 and then also the disappointing performance of Dragon Age the Veilguard. Specifically, EA said on Wednesday that Dragon Age Veilguard, released in October, engaged around 1.5 million players during the 3 months ended December 31st, 2024, which it said was nearly half of its expectations. Engaged is weird to me because that word could mean like almost anything. But what I think it means that they're counting players, even those who refunded the game. And I think that they also are potentially counting players that were playing on shared copies of the game. In other words, like I bought the game, or did I buy the game or did I have it? No, I did have to buy it because they never sent review codes because that was a whole debacle. But anyway, so I bought a copy on PlayStation so that we could do like a review of it. And so it was on the console upstairs, the PS5 in the family room. And so my wife, she was like, I want to play it. So we have the like console game, whatever, sharing on PlayStation. So she played it, even though it was my copy. So I think they're counting her in that number, even though she didn't technically buy her own copy. Which, again, is why the term engaged, I think, is crucial. Because if they said, hey, we sold 1.5 million units, you'd think that they would just say that, but they don't say that. Either way, it's probably less than 1.5 million copies sold. And to be clear, they were expecting, because I see people in chat like, well, 3 million or 1.5 million sounds really good. The problem is they were expecting 3 million. And this is what I said for months, is I was like, do I think that Dragon Age Veilguard made money, like turned a profit? No, I don't think so. But the question is, what did they expect? Did they expect to lose $50 million on the game, or did they expect to lose $150 million on the game? Because if they expected to lose $150 million, and because they restarted development and worked on it for so long, like there was no way it was going to make a profit. But if they expected to lose 150 million and they only lost 75, that technically outperforms their expectations, right? Then that's good news for them. However, we just didn't know what they were internally expecting. We didn't know that number. Now we know the number. They expected 3 million copies or so, and they achieved 1.5 million engaged players over the 3 months, which they said was nearly half of their expected units, which is insane. So now they expect their net bookings of around 2.21 billion for its third quarter and an updated range of 7 to 7.15 billion for the fiscal year, down from 7.5 to 7.8. So both the FC performance slowdown and then also the disappointing performance of Dragon Age has accounted for roughly a 5 to $700 million miss from what they were expecting, which is a lot. I mean, a lot of that is FC 25 because FC 25 makes them like billions, these FC games, but still they've said other things, you know, they've worked on all sorts of stuff. They had high hopes. They were expecting, you know, some big stuff, but who knows exactly what went on behind the scenes, but something happened. It missed their expectations by a lot. And, you know, I don't think they were expecting it to turn a profit. 3 million units on a game that they spent so much time and so much money on as Dragon Age Veilguard. 3 million units would not turn a profit for them. So they were expecting to lose money on it, but they lost even more money than they expected, which is what's crucial. So I can't say I'm shocked. The game was pretty lackluster in the final form, and they had a lot of really elementary blunders in terms of like marketing and communicating things like confidence to players that just didn't need to happen. Like the most obvious one is the review situation. They didn't need to blunder that so hard, but they told a bunch of YouTubers and streamers, hey, we're going to send you review codes or send you codes to play the game on launch day. And then they just ghosted those streamers and those players and those reviewers. And so now you've ticked off all the reviewers. The reviewers told their audience, expect a review from me soon, and they never got the review. And so then their audience is like, okay, well, why did you hide it from the guy I wanted to see the review of? There's just so many implications of something so stupid like that. What did Nikki think of the game? She was very disappointed by it. which to me is the actual like crushing critique of it. She was frustrated that there wasn't really any consequence. There's almost no replay value to the game. All of the major consequence in the game comes down to whether you are best friends with each of the party members and whether they become part of the Veilguard or whatever they call it, the max level friendship ranking. And the other thing, just to be real, the romances suck ass. Okay, and not literally. At least that would have been interesting. They just suck ass. There's like nothing. It's all fade to blacks. There's nothing fun about it. It's all just super short and not particularly interesting. It's all dumb. Yeah. And the game basically turns into a friendship simulator, but not a very good one. And I always go back to what JV said about it in that tweet. What JV said about it, I thought was brilliant. He tweeted out and said, Dragon Age the Veilguard feels like a game that was put together by people who have gone to a lot of therapy and casually use a lot of therapy language. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy, but once you hear kind of how they talk, you can't unhear it. It's crazy. Like, it's all throughout the game. And like the most crushing thing and annoying thing to me was that there'd be like a really serious situation. Somebody's about to die. The city is burning. Well, as long as we gave it our best and we focus on our friendships, that's all you can really ask for. No. Or like something is awful is happening. There's a demonic elder elf god that is about to kill thousands. And somebody's like complaining that their mom wanted them to wear a different outfit when they were growing up. And in any other situation, in real life, if we're on a boat and the boat is sinking and we have the chance of potentially saving people on that boat, and you start whining about some childhood trauma, I'm going to tell you to suck it up and like shut up, because this is not the time. I'm like, I understand that's a trauma. I appreciate that. I'm sorry. Not the time. Let's go stop all those children from dying. But apparently that makes me like insensitive or something. It was tonally all over the place. It asked you to take these situations seriously, but the characters didn't. And it just didn't work. It just was really bizarre, and it required you to kind of turn your brain off, you know? And that's the other piece is any game that requires you to just shut your brain off to certain pieces of it for sake of, I don't know, some narrative component, the narrative component needs to be really freaking good. Because there's even a line of dialogue where like I already forgot his name, the necromancer dude, where he has a line, and they're all talking about what they're going to do. They're all talking about how we're going to stop these evil elven gods. And they're like, well, if we want to stand a chance, we need to sort through our personal problems first. We must work together. For if we can refine, I forget the exact line, but it's like, if we can basically become bestest friends, nothing will be able to stop us. It's like, shut up. Like, shut up. I really struggle to take this world seriously. If you're like, if we focus on the power of friendship, we can come together. I'm like, shut up. Yeah, shut up, Meg. It's exactly that. It's just, nobody cares, okay? We're dealing with something here. But that's the problem, is there was no option to even say that. And that's what kind of drove me crazy, is that no matter what, no matter how insufferably stupid the complaints or complaining was from any of the characters, the player character never had the option to just say, shut up. Like, no, let's focus. What are we doing? Everybody had to like act as though they were totally justified and oh yeah, your anxieties over this thing that somebody in the party, some other member of our team made a comment about what you're wearing, and I understand that stresses you out. You're valid for thinking that. I'm like, nah, sometimes your freak out is not valid, and maybe you should shut up because we're trying to save lives. Okay, let's talk about it later. But you can never say that. You had to always just be like, that's a very good, very valid feeling. That's kind of what I think JV was trying to get at, is it's that therapy language where you should never tell anybody Not the time. Shut up. Everything is always, no, that's very, very valid. I totally appreciate and validate you. Like, sometimes if the Titanic is sinking, this is not the time to talk about some trauma from years bygone. Like, sometimes we got to focus on the task at hand. And if you're going to ask me to take the story seriously, that I feel is something that you should have to do. What does this mean for the future of BioWare? I mean, they expected them to lose a lot of money on Dragon Age. I don't think that was a surprise. I think they were surprised that they lost as much as they did, but I think that they were expecting to lose money on it pretty clearly. If they were only expecting $3 million for a massive, big budget AAA game, then yeah, I mean, they weren't expecting to make much on it. But still, it severely underperformed. At the same time, they have a Mass Effect game in the works, and they need to learn the lessons of Dragon Age Veilguard. Otherwise, they're definitely gonna be screwed. Because if that Mass Effect game, I think it will see the light of day. Some people are saying it's gonna be canceled. They're gonna shut BioWare down. I don't think so. I think they're gonna let them do Mass Effect. But Mass Effect is a game they're building from the ground up for the shape it's gonna take. They aren't gonna do this like. The problem with Dragon Age Veilguard is that it was built as a live service game, swapped back to single player, went back to being a multiplayer game, and then back to a single player game. Like, they restarted development on it multiple times. Different directors, different producers worked on it. It's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different systems and ideas that never really made sense. Honestly, the fact that it got released at all is kind of amazing. But Mass Effect, whatever they call it, is going to be built from the ground up intentionally with that single player vision. And so if that isn't good, they literally have no excuse, like literally no excuse. So we'll see. But we said it so many times, they will learn. I mean, I'm not convinced they will learn, because there's certain things where, like, if a team is rushed or if a team was forced to try to make something a live service game and then flip it back to single player, that stuff, yeah, give them more time, more budget, give them the freedom to do what they need to do, and they'll figure it out. The problems with Dragon Age the Veilguard had to do with, like, being out of touch with the gaming industry and the gaming community and the players. That's not something that magically gets fixed overnight, because it's the same kind of writing problems and tonal problems that have plagued a lot of big studios in recent years. And that's not something that they typically admit is wrong. It's typically like, no, it's your fault for not liking that. In which case, yeah, okay, well then it's my fault I'm not buying your game, I guess. He took my thing! Red flag.